Have you ever wondered if you should use progesterone to get pregnant? Progesterone is one of the primary hormones needed for healthy reproductive function and fertility. In this video, you're going to learn everything about progesterone and getting pregnant. Do you need it? Who's it for? When to take it? For how long? How does it work? How should it be taken? Everything. I'm going to show you how I review the need for progesterone and how I apply this for the members of my online fertility program so that you can learn how this hormone works and stop wondering if you should or should not be taking it on your fertility journey. I've been helping couples get pregnant for the last 21 years. I'm sure that I can help you too. But before we get started with today's episode, I created this free guide called Food for Fertility that you can download and use to get started to create your own fertility plan. I'll leave the link in the description below so that you can grab it easily. Now let's jump right into it. Okay, so progesterone is actually the dominant hormone in the luteal phase, the second half of your cycle. This is after ovulation. If you have implantation, then the corpus luteum helps to maintain progesterone levels during the first trimester until your placenta takes over. That's about 10 to 12 weeks in. Progesterone also produces more heat in the body and causes us to stay warmer in the luteal phase. This is why your BBT rises at this time of your cycle. It also shows you that you have ovulated and prepares your endometrium for a pregnancy, or specifically in this case, a healthy pregnancy. Okay, so what does progesterone actually do? Well, it calms the nervous system, which is essential for overall health. It prepares the endometrium for a healthy implantation, a healthy pregnancy. It supports proper breast health and heart health. It supports proper and healthy thyroid function. All of those are essential for overall woman's health. Helps to have a balanced nervous system and supports brain function. So it helps you to regulate your mood, support anxiety or reduce anxiety, and have good, healthy sleep. It's essential and necessary for everything. Now, I want to contrast this with estrogen. Now, this video is all about progesterone, but often we can't talk about one without the other. And so, as I just mentioned, that progesterone is more dominant in the luteal phase and makes you warmer. Estrogen is more dominant in the follicular phase. It helps to mature the follicle, and actually that follicle produces estrogen, which is why your estrogen levels rise in your follicular phase as your follicles or eggs are maturing and growing. Estrogen is also a cooler hormone. I'm not saying it's cold, I'm saying it's cooler. So when you're looking at your BBT or basal body temperature charts, you're going to see that in that follicular phase, your temperature should be lower than they are in your luteal phase. If they're not, then that already tells us that something's wrong and we need to assess that. Now, all of that is relative. We also don't want it to be too low on either side. So really like the sweet spot in the follicular phase for your BBT, although this is not a BBT video, I have many of those that you can check out, is that we want that somewhere between around 97.2, 97.5-ish. And then we want, when your progesterone takes over, remember we said it's warmer, as it increases, we want your basal temperature to get closer to 98 or above, and that will be showing a nice transition between one half and the other half of your cycle. And that's why it's important to check your BBT, because it gives us more information about your hormones and your cycle, your temperatures. Are they all functioning properly? So this is all something that we assess while we are looking at healthy progesterone levels and just healthy hormone balance overall. But remember, I mentioned a bit ago that when we look at progesterone, we also have to look at it in relationship to estrogen. One of the things that many of you search up and look up is estrogen dominance. I have a video on this, you can check it out. Super valuable information, but I'm going to just mention briefly a bit about it here because it does relate to progesterone. You can have estrogen dominance, meaning you have too much estrogen in your body and that needs to be managed a certain way. Or you can have too little progesterone, which might show or make you think that you have estrogen dominance, but in reality you don't. You just have too little or not enough progesterone that needs to be supported. So this is really important to evaluate overall. Do you actually have too much estrogen, or do you just not have enough progesterone and you need to support with adding in some progesterone to balance that out. Progesterone and estrogen really are supportive of one another. We do need to look at them in relationship to one another. In a moment, I'm going to talk about testing, but I'm going to mention it here for just a second that when you are looking at testing for progesterone, that we need to do it in relationship to estrogen. So I think it's important to test that in the beginning of your cycle, estrogen and progesterone, and then I like to test 7 days post-ovulation as well. All right, so what are some signs and symptoms of low progesterone? Spotting or irregular bleeding, maybe a long cycle, headaches or migraines, even more so after ovulation, mood changes including anxiety or depression. We talked about anxiety and mood stuff before. Low libido, meaning no sex drive, hot flashes, irregular menstrual cycle, weight gain, fibroids, endometriosis, thyroid dysfunction. These are all reasons to look deeper at your progesterone levels. So there are some things that actually can contribute to your overall progesterone health, both positively and negatively. I think some of these you might deduce, or it would make sense to you because of all the things I've already mentioned earlier, but I want to highlight these three things. Number one is stress. We talked about stress and how progesterone health is important and connected to your stress level, so that shouldn't surprise you in any way. I talk about managing stress all the time, and this is another reason why you should be checking that off your list every day in terms of what are you going to do to manage your stress levels. The second thing that can contribute to overall progesterone health is thyroid function. I mentioned thyroid function a couple of times, and just having healthy, balanced thyroid function is going to be essential for overall hormonal balance and reproductive function. Progesterone is no different, and I think it's really essential that we are constantly evaluating our thyroid function and health to make sure we have overall balanced hormones. Progesterone, again, is no different. And last but not least is blood sugar health. Balancing and having good, healthy blood sugar is essential for everything. Fertility is no different. Your hormone is no different. If we are not managing our blood sugar properly through diet and exercise, we're going to cause more inflammation, we're going to cause more irregularity. Some of you are going to be impacted by that more than others, but in general, it's something that needs to absolutely be managed better in the current world that we live in and society that we live in. So those are the three things that I think really contribute to overall progesterone health. Now, I mentioned testing before, so I want to highlight this again. When we're doing testing, it's very rare that I'm just doing progesterone testing. I'm usually doing that in conjunction with other hormones. And as you might guess by the three things I just mentioned, we need to be looking at those hormones as well. So yes, we need to test your progesterone. I'm also going to recommend that you're testing this in relationship to other hormones. So that you test it in the beginning of your cycle when you're testing your FSH and AMH and estradiol to see where things are there, that you're also simultaneously testing your blood sugar levels and your thyroid function. And then I do like to test progesterone in the luteal phase 7 days after ovulation. That's not always cycle day 21, so you want to make sure that you know when you're ovulating so you can test your progesterone levels appropriately 7 days post-ovulation and understand what that looks like. And then you can piggy that also with some of the other hormones that I've mentioned as well, depending on what you're looking at. We could even dive deeper with a Dutch test and a Dutch cycle mapping test to understand what your hormones are doing throughout the whole cycle. And we're talking about progesterone in this video, so specifically what's your progesterone doing throughout the whole cycle, because you're collecting samples throughout the whole menstrual cycle to see what your estrogen and progesterone are doing. If I really suspect estrogen dominance or low progesterone, that's often something that I will incorporate as well. And now you know that you may or may not need progesterone support, but let's just say you do. Now, what do we do? How do we support our progesterone levels? This is, the $1 million question here. Well, first and foremost, you need good amount of magnesium. Most of us do not get enough, so I would always suggest adding in and supplementing with a good magnesium to help support that. It does much more than support progesterone. It helps in so many functions in the body, so we all need it. It's an essential mineral. Outside of that, you could add progesterone. There's lots of different ways that you can do this, okay? You can start, if you just need a little bit, with just some natural progesterone cream, and I specifically want you to be using it in the luteal phase. So once you've ovulated, you can add that in, and you're going to take it throughout your luteal phase. What I'm going to say here is true for all progesterone supplementation, is that once you add progesterone in your luteal phase, there is a chance, and depending on the dosage you're taking, the higher the dose, the more likely this is the case, that it will prevent you from menstruating or from starting your menstrual cycle. If that is the case, that means you need to stay on the progesterone until you do a pregnancy test to confirm if you're positive or not. If you're positive, you continue on it. If you're negative, you come off of it, and anywhere between a day to 7 days later, you will start your bleed, hopefully more towards the 1 or 2 days versus the 7 days. So that's important. Determining a dosage is also important. I think in general, a natural progesterone cream is going to be on the lower side, anywhere from 20 to 40 or 50 milligrams. I like to have a higher dose, so anywhere from 100 to 200, 1 to 2 times a day. Again, it all depends on your levels, right? Like what you need. This is where you need to consult with a healthcare provider and your fertility team of healthcare providers to help guide you as to when you should be taking it, how much you should be taking, the form you need, and so forth. So I want to make sure that I'm just giving you guidelines, but you should not be doing this on your own. You should be consulting with your healthcare provider and your doctors to make sure that you are on a good amount and the proper amount for you, and that you actually need it, okay? It can help to hold a pregnancy and sustain a pregnancy, so we'd keep that going throughout the first trimester. Anywhere between 10 to 12 weeks, you can start to come off of it. The form is, if you're taking it orally through medication, you might need more, something to talk about with your doctor, than if you're taking it as a cream or vaginally. I prefer the vaginal application. It's messier, obviously, but it gets right to the source of where we need it. So I do prefer that method, but if you can't get it, then oral could be okay. We just might need a higher dose. Those are some of the key things that I want you to take out of this video. And now I want to hear from you. Did you like this video? What did you like about this video? What did you learn about progesterone that you didn't know before? And what questions do you have about progesterone or your fertility that I can help answer for you now? Leave those comments below and I will get back to you. All right, if you want to go deep into your fertility, find the root cause that's not allowing you to get pregnant, then be sure to fill out the application using the link in the description below to speak to a real person. That's right, a real human on the phone on my team, so we can identify if this is the right next step for you and see if you are a good fit to join my Hope Fertility program. As I said, we all need coaches and mentors. I can be yours. Now make sure to check out this series of videos so that you can keep learning more about your fertility and improve your fertility at home. We're going to leave that link in the description below. And until the next video, stay fertile.